Welcome everyone to another Pixelated review. I'm your host, Pixelated Jordan. So, this is the Bright series. Yeah, it's called the Bright series. So every book in this series has the Bright and then something after that. Anyway, this is a LitRPG or game lit for whoever wants to know. Anyways, let me tell you about it. So, for those unfamiliar with game lit or lit RPGs, basically, it's you, the individual, you yourself, goes into a video game, but you know it's a video game, or at least simulation, something like that. You know, like, take Ready Player One, for example. That's technically a game lit. So, yeah, there you, it's a very simple thing. You know, it's kind of strange to think about, though. I'm a pixelated character, and I've yet to read any of these game lits or game lit RPG books. You know, it's weird. I find that weird. But anyways, I'm trying to step my toe into it at least a little bit to kind of see the weird world that can be of video games and narration, storytelling at the same time. Because it does sound really interesting. So I was very interested. And this right here with the cover, how it looks, I was like, oh my gosh, this has got to be cool. So I was very intrigued already by the cover, like by itself. So I wasn't looking at any descriptions. I didn't know it was a game. I just wanted to see it, and I was like, okay, this sounds cool. Then I found out it was game lit. So yeah, I think it's a very cool opportunity for me to look at this stuff and kind of review it. So yeah, let's get all into it, guys. So of course, you know, this is series review. This is spoiler territory. So without further ado, let's start this review. Book 1, The Bright Lord. Okay, I have a lot to read here. So this kind of reminds me of Eon Legion. You remember that book? The second book I reviewed on this channel? Yes, a long time ago, I know. For those who haven't read it, I recommend not checking it out unless you already read the series or something like that. You know, because I'm going to be talking about Eon Legion a little bit. Anyway, about that, so one of the things I got to say about this book is that I'm a bit confused. Yeah, you know how I said it's a game lit or a lit RPG? I thought it was going to be something way more different. This was not that. So basically, like, our main character does get trapped into this kind of simulation, and Bright is the more or less magic system or leveling up system, I guess you could call it, because they can level up their Bright and then you know, go on from there. The main character himself was a Bright Lord, so which hints at the title. But overall, I thought it was gonna be more expansive, I guess. I don't know what I was looking for. The problem I had with this whole thing is that we are trapped in this one little place for a while with the main character, and they start talking about how they use Bright. Also, he has a terrible body to use Bright, so that's also a thing. But it's just that how the story came about, like, oh, we have this accident happen, and then he's thrust into the situation with a body that was already dead, so he had to build that body back up just to use all this Bright energy. And at first I thought I was getting into it, then I got really bored. There's only a couple of character I could just name of. RJ. I can't remember the top of my head. But he was one of the more standout characters because he got some development in there from being this wimp to actually doing something better. So it was really cool. And I have to admit, the climax at the end was pretty fancy, I gotta say. I think the climax was a lot of fun, and anything about that was just great. But as far as the Bright, I don't understand it. I treated it like a magic system because you could do some magic-like things in this sci-fi universe thing in the video game simulation. I don't know. Point is that there is surprisingly a lot, but not enough to explain it. And I think the biggest thing I don't like about it, about definitely this first book, is that there was so much training. Yeah, that's where Eon Legion comes in. It has so much training in here, and yet I have learned nothing of the Bright stuff and everything. It was a lot to get through. Though it was short, it was a lot. But with that being said, I wish it was going to be more entertaining. There was things I definitely liked. I just wish there was more of it. And I hope things get better as we continue through the story to figure out what is the Bright, what's going on in this simulation, game, something. And then, yeah, go from there. So, for the Bright Lord, I give it a rating of meh. Book 2, The Bright Retaliate. What could I say about this book? There's a lot I could say, but I'm not gonna say. So, like, one of the things I have to say about the whole book is that there's not a solid foundation about the Bright system, or the system itself. I don't quite understand where things begin or end, and it's like, here's the Bright system, and you could level up points and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. What else? Like, what's the beginning? What do you need? I don't know. And then, oh, so is it limitless? No. Well, what's the limit? I don't know. Well, then I don't know either. so it's like they explain all this training stuff because there's, believe it or not, more training. And I'm believing that's just a personal pet peeve of mine at this point. But it's more training, building up an army for this bad guy that I can't even remember his name. And yeah, so that's a thing. But also, one of the side characters we liked from the first one, RJ, he was developed, and then he got thrown to the side for these twins who are supposed to be pretty cool and powerful. The RJ just got left behind for some reason. I don't know why, because he was a really good character, and he just thrown to the side for these twins. Don't know why still. But overall, the climax of the story was still fun. But that's about it I could say still. It's just that everything else without the solid foundation of what the system is or what the Bright system is, I don't quite understand. Also, the whole lot of training that I'm not into. So, yeah, that's about it. So, for the Bright Retaliation, I give it a rating of forgettable. Book 3, The Bright Fight. I think my problem with the series is that not only do I not know the Bright system nor the system itself, I think it's the pacing as well. This thing goes at a breakneck pace. So even though there's a lot of training and not much is really explained about knowing everything, it also goes really, really fast. So even the time where it is nothing but training, which feels dull and really slow going, it just goes by so fast. So everything that we've learned and talked about or anything like that, it goes by so fast and you forget about the next instant. And I think that's why I don't really care or like this so much. Also, remember the twins I just mentioned about? Yeah, they don't matter anymore too. They made it such a big deal at the second book saying, oh, they're gonna be super important for this war that we're gonna need. We need them. And then we go to this one, they're not even mentioned. I don't remember them being mentioned actually. Maybe for a little bit at the beginning. Same thing with RJ. He kind of just got thrown to the sideline, which really kind of sucks, because these were characters I kind of liked. It's just that there are good ideas in here, but sadly they are just bogged down by presentation, which would suck. So it's a lot like The Legend of Galia for me, where there is good ideas, just it's presented in a not the best way possible, which really does suck. So that is why The Bright Fight gets a rating of forgettable. Book 4, The Bright Revelation. Wow, I'm genuinely shocked with this one. So not only did we get a new perspective on the story, this now is the MC's wife from the actual world taking place as the main character for this series. And it actually was really good. I really liked this a lot because in the first book, the guy knew everything, but he didn't explain everything, if that makes sense. He already knew what to do in the step-by-step guide, basically, but he didn't really explain it about what the Bright system is or the system itself. He just said it exists, essentially. But in this one, this takes place with the wife of the MC. They actually explained what the Bright system is. Like, okay, and obviously it's just magic, okay? And I thought so, but I'm glad there's a solid foundation now, 4 books in. Well, better late than never, I guess. Point is, though, this really actually did really goodwill. Is that a word? I don't know. We're going to keep it in there. But it really did go very well for the story, and the other character that involved, he was a doctor. He was really good, too. I really liked him. The only issue I guess I could really say that really kind of dragged this book along was that there were a lot of people who came to help our MC in this book. Kind of often, actually. So it kind of came off Mary Sue-ish a little bit, but it kind of was a nice fresh take on the story because of how galactic it was supposed to be in this world, and how this war is gonna be big, and we're gonna fight this big guy at the end, and to finally get something a little bit more simplified. I really did enjoy that, and it does tie in, in the end when we do meet our main MC of the series. But this one was a fun ride, and I really did enjoy this one. So I have to admit, I had fun. Then this has really good hopes. So for the Bright Revelation, I give it a rating of, check it out, Book 5, The Bright Beast. After the highest highs of The Bright Revelation, I expected it to at least keep up, right? And I did not get that. Sadly, it kind of goes back. So there is a recap of what happened, from the 3rd book into the 4th, like what was happened during the 4th book for them, into the, this book now. So there's a recap, and we kind of have to get there. And then it kind of goes back to its training again. It's at this point I'm getting tired of the whole training, and I'm just like, this sucks. Because I get it, you got your training, and then you got the big climax, and it's pretty cool. And I have to admit, though, I do have to really admit, this climax in this book was actually one of the best. It just kind of, the moral implications and the story of the main character of this guy, which is now back to the main dude from the first 3. What he went through in this little trial things was really cool, and I actually really liked the ending of that. So I have to admit, the climaxes of every book kind of just wows people, well, at least wows me, because it really did escalate the story in a much more better regard, I guess you could say. So I really did like it. It's just that now I know what to expect, basically, at this point. I already know I'm going to expect the next book. Oh, training. Oh, and then more training. And then you know what else? More training. So it's just that it's going to constantly repeat itself, and I'm just not really here for it. And I know it's going to be having an epic climax, and that's going to be fun, but I'm just not in it for the training anymore. So, that being said, The Bright Beast gets a rating of meh. Book 6, The Bright Escape. This one has to be the most confusing and forgettable book in the series. So, well, first off, the one thing they said, Earth is the system. But I thought Earth was Earth, but yet it's the system. That makes no sense. No matter how many times it's explained it, I'm like, I don't get it. I thought this is not Earth. I thought this was a system. So, yeah, that's a thing. So I don't even know at this point. The only thing I can say is that there was this epic battle with another character, Takaran, I think it was. I really liked the battle in world culture. It just, everything about that part of the section was really cool, and I really did like it, One of the things too was RJ or AJ. I keep on forgetting his name. I'm gonna say every time it's gonna be RJ one time, AJ the next. Anyway, he sadly had an end to his thing, and that's the worst part. He was barely in the stories. Like the first one, he was sitting there like full on. Second one, he was kind of there but pushed aside. And after that, he kind of just got forgotten or lost in translation from everyone else because there were so many other people introduced. Oh, you remember the twins I told you about? Yeah, they weren't even mentioned anymore. So, yeah, that was a thing. And then the climax too, sadly, it just wasn't as good as normally they were. I mean, there was one action scene that was absolutely epic in this, but that's about it, you know. And then it comes down to the big bad, the big villain, Amtra? Not I don't know. It's the person saying that they're the most powerful person next to our main character. And I couldn't care less, honestly, at this point. They were talked about the first one, but that's about it. And now I'm just like, all right. I'm ready to start the next book, the last book, and finish this. So with that being said, The Bright Escape gets a rating of forgettable. Book 7, The Bright. Finish this. What can I say? This was an end. It was a forgettable end with nothing still being explained and a lot of things just being forgettable. All the side characters we've known and loved just kind of fell to the wayside. And our main character did get really strong. And even though our main bad guy, Andromeda, or whatever his name was, I can't remember, he played a part, but at the very end, basically, where they fought together, and yeah, it just kind of, So yeah, no, I was kind of burnt out probably at this point, so that's probably why I can't remember as much as I thought I could. But yeah, this book didn't really end out with the greatest bang of all time, of all climaxes, of all endings of all this series. It may not be the worst climax that there's in this series, but it just wasn't the best one that it could have been. So, even though it was built up all this time, yeah, sadly, with the main character and how strong he was getting, with all the training he'd done, and all the little things he kind of did, it just ended up being forgettable in the end. So, that is why The Bright Finish This gets a rating of forgettable. Overall, throughout the series, I really wanted to love it. When there was a good idea and it actually did really well, I absolutely loved it. I forgot to mention that there was this little pet that basically became a dragon. It was the kind of like a sidekick to our main character, and it was awesome. She was awesome. I absolutely loved her. So I will absolutely praise that. That was great. However, after finishing this series, I kind of felt about it, which kind of sucks. I know this is my first game, LitRPG, game lit kind of thing, and I was a little disappointed by it. I kind of hoped it was going to be great, you know, all this kind of cool video game reference and stuff like that, and sadly, that's just not what I got. I feel like if this was just a sci-fi book without the Bright system, I think it would have made a little bit more sense and not confusing us, because like I said, the system is Earth and somehow Earth is not the system. I don't know. It got crazy there. And the biggest thing I just didn't like about the story was just how we get to these side characters and they play a big role for the first book or whatever, and then they're thrown to the side just because. And with RJ, AJ, one of the two, whatever his name is, he just, he started off really good, and then he was thrown to the side after a while. And then he makes a sacrifice, and it was happening after the 4th book, I think it was. And it just, it sucks to see stuff like that happen, because, you want something great to happen, and it could have happened. But the biggest thing I have to take away from this is that training. Seriously, there was so much training in this book. God, it was just so boring to hear the same thing in and out. We have to train more. Seriously, there's some more training we need to get done. We need some more training. And I'm just sitting here so done with the training. Could you just skip over it, just say they trained, and let's just move on to the plot? And that's the biggest thing. The plot just came last and the training came first. I understand maybe you need your heavy characters to understand their powers and stuff like that, but it didn't even play. It just didn't matter at that point. Honestly, I got so bored with it. And like I said, it wasn't something I was into. And feel bad because I feel like I'm ripping someone's heart out with their story, which sucks because I don't like doing that. But it is what it is, you know. And to Alex Knowles, to be honest, man, I hope you learned, your experience through this first book, and I hope your great endeavors when you're writing career. And I have to say, you know how to pick a cover, so do that with what you will, my friend. So let's rate this series for the Bright series about Alex Knowles. It gets a rating of forgettable. Hi, I want to thank you guys all for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you want any more reviews of books and series, I have plenty more in these playlists below. Hey, and did you know that I too am an author? That's right, I would link the books down below as well as mine if you are interested in something a little bit more ghostly. Other than that, I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.